So we have a few minutes, questions, comments, whatever you might like to raise, but a relatively few minutes. And if anybody wants, sorry, if I can just say, I'm very happy to send the PowerPoint to anybody who asks me. If you want copies of it, it was quite fun putting it together, and I'm happy to post it. Way at the back, Jim, if I may, distinguished former Vice Principal and Head of Pastoral and Social Studies.
You said that this is the end of one chapter. What's the next?
Still in the writing. No, I mean, there are things being planned and being developed, but at this stage, they're not clear. That's also something I checked out this morning. What can I say at this point? And along with the fact that the library will continue as an accessible collection in London, I can say things are being worked on. But I can't say more. Academic things are being worked on, but I can't say more than that. So I really do see it as the end of a chapter rather than anything else. Norman.
You had a very interesting point that when it was at Stonyhurst, they were getting London degrees.
Yep.
Did that carry on when it moved to St. Inos and so on?
To be honest, I'm not sure. Part of the reason for the link with London wasn't Jesuit, because at that stage, to go to university in England, you had to be an Anglican. At least you had to subscribe to the 39 articles. Stonyhurst, and I think more than one other of the Catholic boarding schools, ran post what would now be post sixth form courses, sort of introductory courses at university level, to provide something of that education for their alumni, or the alumni of the high school level. And at Stonyhurst they were known as the gentlemen philosophers. And reading the rules that were set out for them, on the grounds that you write rules after disastrous things have happened, they must have been a bit of a headache to manage. So there was certainly a group of gentlemen philosophers, and I think that some of the young Jesuits who were 200 yards down the road, so to speak, were also involved, but I'm not 100% sure. Jim?
I'm pretty sure there was a course in third-year philosophers.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, yes, thank you. And of course there was another non-Heythrop link with London, in that many Jesuits postgrad pedagogy course housed in a building which now houses which of the colleges of Roehampton? Yes, it's Whitelands. Yes, the old Manresa house in Roehampton. So it's the most wondrously enmeshed history. I've been looking over that way. There may have been a hand or more over this side, or there may not. At the back. Yeah. You could stand up. Oops.
You mentioned about the philosophy degree being a college-awarded degree when it first, and when I did it was a federal degree.
Yeah.
So I was interested in, you may not know, what were the circumstances in which that changed? Did the philosophy degree become the federal degree at the University of London?
Right. There was never a college degree as such, because the question was. I had mentioned the college course as a college award, and my questioner did the philosophy BA when it was a federal degree. And in fact, when we were moving back into college-based degrees, the philosophy hung on as a federal degree when the theology degrees got dispersed across the colleges. I don't know the exact circumstances, other than it became possible, I think is the answer. And that from teaching theology and philosophy, the decision was made. And I think Peter Vardy, who's speaking next, was part of this, that here was an area of teaching which was of interest to many students and which we could then get ourselves involved in. But in a sense, the simple answer is it became possible. It also involved us becoming part of a second faculty in the university, because at that point we only belonged to the theology faculty. Those of you who've been through Heythrop in more recent years, London was really quite tightly structured from the centre, and in those days such decisions were made centrally. John?
Could you tell us how wicked you were? How wicked you were towards Michael Argyle when you were a student of psychology in Oxford.
Thank you, John. There is that you may or may not be aware, there is a psychological mechanism known as repression, by which we bury memories like this. Michael, who was, first of all, a very, very distinguished social psychologist and also a psychologist of religion, had the task of teaching one undergraduate class about non-verbal communication. You know the shorthand version of this about what percentage of the communication between us is actually carried by facial expression and gesture and all the rest of it. And now, this I believe to be true, all right? Because I was there. It was some way into this little course on non-verbal communication, and Michael was teaching in a very big lecture room, and because he wasn't tied to a mic, he moved from foot to foot and moved around a little bit. And the girls in the class, because they'd sussed him out, that it was the girls who could do this, ganged up on him. And when he moved to his right foot, they smiled. And when he moved to his left foot, they looked away. And in the course, you could see what's coming, of course, can't you? So he ended up basically over there, but with his lecture notes here. Thank you, John, for the cue. It's almost a guilt-free memory, but it was very good. There was a question from the middle here.
Oh, it's just a very concrete thing. Can you make the connection for me? Everybody else might know, I don't mind. Between the heraldic shield and your map up here.
Am I?
The maps.
Oh, the maps. Let me back up to the shield, if I may. The shield. Fine. The shield is given by the College of Heralds for Heythrop College, University of London. So it was a creation in 1970-71. The lion is the Lion of Brabant, the province next to Flanders, and that's where we start life. The blue and silver are the BMW colours, or to be more precise, the colours of Bavaria, because the Elector of Bavaria was a benefactor of the college in exile, a major benefactor of the college when it was founded in exile. And in the top corner you've got the Jesuit first three letters of the name of Jesus, which everybody scrambles into IHS, and the Passion nails. But that's where it comes from. When it was drawn up, one of the comments was that historically it stopped around about 1790. You know, there's nothing on the shield which reflected later history, but that's where it comes from. So it's Brabant. The Flanders, I think, is a black lion, and Brabant is a gold lion. That's how you tell the difference. Just one here, yeah.
Yeah, just quickly. I mean, thinking about the future, I know that there's a lot of suspicion in some quarters of Christian denominations with regard to psychology. Indeed, there's a lot of suspicion towards Jesuits as well. But that's not what as an Anglican priest whose first formation was provided by Heythrop, I'm interested how, when you were talking about how Heythrop, how the study of psychology was taking these things and looking at faith, whereas some of the church would probably prefer you start with faith and then look at psychology. And again, looking to the future, it seems to me that Heythrop has always had an outward-facing thing and was courageous enough to join the University of London and subject itself to this external body for good or for ill. Should the future of Heythrop be in that spirit rather than a withdrawal back, perhaps, to something a bit more denominational, so that we are using the tools of the world to look at questions of faith from our particular traditions?
Should it be outward looking rather than pulling back into a denominational stance, absolutely, yes. Yeah. That's been the history of Heythrop. It's also the history of the Jesuits, which is why there's so much suspicion. But no, I mean, I think that stance is utterly embedded. Whether there will be equivalently visible extra ecclesiastical settings is another whole matter of what's the possible. But the stance and the approach, which was echoed very much by what John was talking about this morning as the theological approach, that's deeply embedded. It was a should question and it's a should answer.
Yes.
Goodness knows what will happen.
I was going to say, as a note to that, obviously those of us who form the Heythrop community, I think probably have a responsibility to continue to engage because we are, thanks
Sure.
to the University of London, a broad group of people
Sure.
from a variety of different denominations.
No, I
And
agree.
faiths. No faith.
One more question, because we're trying to get vaguely back onto time. One more question.
Was it an unbroken line of teaching from 1614 through to 2018? Were there moments when the college stopped teaching?
I'm not aware that there's a break. This is a minimal, a sort of slight answer to begin with, and I'll work back. I've been involved in both the major moves of Heythrop, from Oxfordshire to here, a number of people in the room have, where we finished one academic year slightly early and began the following academic year in London. I'm also the idiot who moved us from the central London to the green pastures of Kensington Square. And there's an Assumption sister and myself who can do a sort of, we can reenact the original phone call of whether it might be a possibility. But we did the same then. We finished one academic year in one place and started here. The moves earlier on, I don't know. I have this visual a visual picture of being told that when the move to England took place, there was a moment when the librarian was spotted standing on the quay in Dunkirk, hawking off books because they didn't have quite enough to pay for the barges to bring the rest of them across to England. It's a lovely picture. How true it is, I don't know. There may have been a small gap there, but no, the teaching took place. And part of the reason the teaching took place is, for the vast majority of its time, it was processing, so to speak, would-be Catholic priests, Jesuit priests, and the teaching had to take place. So there was a program which had to be followed. So I don't know whether there's a significant break. Michael Walsh's history might tell you, but interesting, I've never thought of the question. I'm no historian, as must be obvious by now. Thank you very much for your attention.